You know that feeling, right? That little gut instinct that tells you someone isn't being completely straight with you. We've all been there. But what if you could go beyond just a hunch? What if you could actually learn to spot the signs? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into the subtle art of spotting deception. This idea right here is our starting point, and it's a powerful one. It basically says that even when someone has their words all figured out, their body might be telling a completely different story. And the eyes, they're often the biggest tattletales. So how do we actually do this? How do we read those signs? We're going to break down 3 simple but really effective tells. Our source calls them dark psychology tricks that can help you spot a potential lie. Let's jump right in. Okay, so for our very first tell, we're going exactly where that quote told us to look, the eyes. We're looking for a very specific involuntary reaction that happens when the brain is under a certain kind of pressure. Now, the why behind this is what's really fascinating. See, lying is hard work for the brain. It's a heavy cognitive load. Think about it. Your brain is trying to invent a plausible story, keep all the new fake details straight, and suppress the actual truth all at the same time. That mental stress can actually bubble to the surface as a faster, almost fluttery blink rate. It's not something they can control. Now, of course, people get stressed for other reasons, but if it happens right after you ask a tricky question, well, it's definitely a flag to pay attention to. All right, let's build on that with our second tell. We're sticking with the eyes, but this time it's not about speed, it's about direction. It's all about where they're looking. So this is a classic idea you might have heard about. The theory goes that when we're pulling up a genuine memory, our eyes tend to go up and to our left. We're accessing the memory storage part of our brain. But when someone looks up and to their right, some theories suggest they're tapping into the creative, imaginative part of the brain, the part that builds a new image instead of just recalling an old one. So you have to ask yourself, are they remembering something or are they creating something on the spot? It's not a foolproof rule for sure, but it's another interesting piece of the puzzle. Okay, for our third and final tell, we're going to shift gears. We're moving away from what the body is doing, and we're going to focus on what's actually being said, or more importantly, what's not being said. This really gets to the heart of what makes a real memory different from a made-up one. Think about a real memory you have. It's filled with rich details, right? You remember the weird sound the car made, or the smell of cut grass, or how the light looked. A fabricated story just doesn't have that. It's full of generalizations, the timeline might be fuzzy, and a lot of the time it just feels emotionally flat because the person telling it never actually felt those emotions. It's an empty story. So there you have it, the rapid blinking, that gaze up and to the right, and a story that's just a little too vague. When you start to pay attention to these things, you're doing more than just hearing words. You're observing the whole picture. You're learning to read the story behind the story. The key is to look for a cluster of these signals, not just one isolated thing. And really, this says it all, doesn't it? The truth really is hidden in the details. Whether it's the tiny physical detail of a fluttering eyelid or the big glaring lock of detail in a story, it's a powerful reminder to not just look, but to actually see. Ultimately, knowing this stuff gives you a whole new lens to see conversations through. It reminds you that so much of communication happens non-verbally, and that just opens up a much bigger question, doesn't it? If these are the signals our mind sends when we're trying to deceive, what other secrets does the mind hold?